Hey Fantas, Adam here. Before we get started, I wanted to include a disclaimer on this episode because this isn't quite the direction that we want the podcast to keep going down. Since we finished the content of Kenan Kel proper, we've been a little list looking for what our next angle is. So it's experimental. We are trying what works, and this episode we tried to review an episode that Kenan Kel were on of a different program. Our hearts weren't fully in it. We want to keep the show as Kenan Kel centric as possible. In light of that misstep, our next 3 episodes are going to be top 10s about the series. Having a good time with the series that we've all come to know and love. Those episodes will be going up on the 21st of June, the 29th, and the 6th of July. A triple feature to make up for the kind of lack of content that you've been seeing. So if you're interested in listening to this kind of failed experiments, please continue. If not, you'll hear from me again in less than 2 weeks. Thanks.
If you're walking down the street and you see a guy in a tree looking at a bird, then that means my name is Aaron.
And if you're on that same street and you see a guy dressed as a bird, that person might be Adam.
And if you line both of them up and you give them both high fives, and one of them gives you a high five with their left hand, then that one would definitely be Adam.
This is Kenan Kel with Adam and Aaron. The podcast where we once spoke of every episode of Kenan Kel, the 90s declaring sitcom, and now are expanding into other facets of Kenan Kel's filmography.
On this podcast, we will also have unprompted jokes, if you haven't picked up on that in the first 70 episodes. And sometimes they will not be funny, but...
If you haven't laughed yet, don't worry. Your settings are fine.
You will not laugh
Just bear with
at
us.
all. There will be no joy had through this podcast. Speaking of used to be Kenan and Kel, I feel like this is used to be Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. You know what I mean? Like we're like past tense now. So yeah. We're now into the future, which means that we're going to go back further than Kenan and Kel and look at older media or any kind of media that has our favorite duo, like Penn and Teller, Magic and Kareem, Hardy Boys.
There's a very particular window that I think started in like the mid-90s with all that and continued on to like about the year 2000 where it was Kenan and Kel in media. We haven't nailed down exactly what we want to do, so there's a bunch of little bits and pieces that we're jumping into. This one, for example, is the episode Big Brothers from the Steve Harvey Show.
Season 1, episode 9.
This was right before the first season of Kenan and Kel.
Right. I actually want to say that Kenan and Kel in this episode are very fun. And very exciting.
Yes, they are. But the rest of the show is a little...
The rest of the episode
tough.
needs some support. Yeah. This show is I don't know much about it. I just know this episode. So I can't talk too much about the Steve Harvey Show. But from what I know about Steve Harvey, there's a reason he no longer makes sitcoms.
Well, his brand is very much in tune to what he does now, which is like game shows, where he can say like one thing that's kind of funny about whatever's happening in front of him.
Right, exactly.
Do you remember the premise of the Steve Harvey Show at all?
It's a former funk star turned high school music teacher, which sounds like a great concept, except it's more so just Steve Harvey playing a character with like elements of funk and like the setting of school.
Yeah, I don't think this episode shows that premise very well.
No.
It's just a Steve Harvey story and a school story that have a tiny intersection in between.
Yeah, I got a very mean Steve vibes from this episode. I don't... Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that might just be the era that it was in, like what 90s adult comedy was, but yeah, it's mean, isn't it?
Yeah, he's a jerk. And his ego is just ginormous.
Yeah, and I feel like the project itself is kind of a lot like that, because even though Steve is kind of like down on his luck, the premise of it sounds a lot like the Kenan and Kel reboot that you pitched last episode.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's returning to like your roots as like going back to school And, like, you have to work with, like, kids that are, you know, of a different, like, growing up with some of the same problems that you might have had. Steve has all the power in this situation. He is, like, famous in addition to being, like, having power within the school.
Yeah, and I just don't like it off the bat because it's like, oh yeah, after I've already become rich and famous, I'm gonna go back and be a school teacher because that's an easy job where I can make a difference. It's like, listen, man, you should probably leave teaching music to the professionals. Now I understand you are a professional musician, and so that's, I guess, music teacher is the one thing where it's a little bit, you know, different. But teaching is not something you just like, oh hey, I'm gonna go and be a teacher now. Although that is happening more and more. So
Sure.
maybe that's just my frustrations with education at the moment. But
I did watch the pilots, but I hope that it's Steve Hightower is down in his luck. That's why he's teaching in Chicago's West Side at Booker T. Washington High School.
I feel like that's probably what's going on, but he seems like he's on top of the world and just stepping on everybody to get there and stay there.
He does.
Maybe we should, do you want to jump into it? How do you want to handle this?
Before we go into the episode, I think we'll have a similar breakdown as we do with Kenan Kel. I can't imagine we're going to stop for as many jokes as we did on that program. First, let's start off with some Kenan and Kel news. This is the big news that's been sweeping the Kenan Kel scene that everyone's talking about. That our prayers have been answered. The hundreds of Twitter comments that I've seen over the years that have all pointed the same one thing have all come to fruition. Kenan and Kel is coming to US Netflix.
Really?
On June 21st, select seasons of Kenan and Kel are coming to the platform.
What?
Seasons 1 and 2 of Kenan and Kel will be available at your fingertips on the 21st of this month.
So Kenan and Kel is going to be on Netflix.
Yes.
So how do we make sure all the people who watch Kenan and Kel have the infamous accompanying podcast in their hands?
We're going to rely on fancies and our own goodwill to spread the word that, hey, everyone, a whole podcast exists where we go over every episode of Kenan and Kel. What a wonderful companion piece to the series now available to much more people.
Netflix just mooching off all of our hard work.
Well, they need it right now, so I don't blame them.
Yeah, it's a great addition. Hopefully the quality will be good too, because I'm sure like they did some post 90s rendering or something like that.
The worst case scenario is that they have like the same kind of rips that Paramount Plus has, which might be missing some end credit, you know.
I don't think Netflix would do that. I don't think they would.
No, I don't think so either. I do feel like there are going to still be those 3 missing episodes in season 1 where they use copyrighted music.
We'll see.
Time will tell.
We'll see.
So, in addition to that, all 4 seasons of Kenan and Kel are currently available on BET Plus. That's another streaming platform that I was happy to learn that that's also, they're available elsewhere too, if you're moving away from Netflix like many users are right now. And finally, on our Twitter at Kenan Kel Podcast, I follow like people that are connected to the show or like star on episodes of Kenan and Kel and stuff like that. So I saw a post on May 12th from David Allen Greer.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. At David Allen Greer on Twitter. His tweet reads as so. I hate... we've got a pretty clean show, so I'll just say, I hate MFers that call me by my whole complete Christian name. Hashtag David Allen Greer. Like, you ain't my damn mama. Hashtag damn. So...
I think he could thank Kenan and Kel for that, and his little the little stipend he got for starring in Kenan and Kel's Hollywood.
Yes,
Kenan and Kel Go to Hollywood Part 1 and 2.
Kenan and Kel were definitely very responsible for popularizing that. However, as I just pointed out, his Twitter handle is at David Allen Greer. That was how he was billed in On Living Colors for many years, in like the 90s and before.
What am I supposed to call him? David Greer? Mr. David Greer?
He doesn't have a correction here. He also, in the early 2000s, had a sitcom where he played he played like a special agent in the White House called Agent Dag, and his handle was Agent Dag, and the show is called Dag. It's been his like identity for a very long time. So David Allen Greer, whatever you want us to call you now, please let us know. We'll happily adjust.
But until then, I am your mama.
That was a fun thing I encountered.
That's great. That's great. Thanks for sharing. I'm glad you. Do you follow the guy who played Mark Cram by any chance? What's he up to?
Yes, Biagio, I think.
Yeah. What's he got going on?
His wife is named like Joke, and they had like a production company that was called like Joke Productions, I think, for a bit.
Okay.
I'll check in. I'll let you know if there's any updates. I don't think they've posted in like about 3 years.
Okay, that's a lot of news, Adam.
Out with the new, in with the old. The Steve Harvey Show.
Yeah, I also don't like that it's called the Steve Harvey Show when his character's name is Mr. Hightower or whatever it is. Herbert Hightower? I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, Steve Hightower.
Steve.
Characters on the show like keep their first name but change their last name. Very similar to Kenan and Kel.
Yeah. Yeah, except Kenan and Kel's characters in this show are not Kenan and Kel.
No, they aren't. And Steve Hightower, he's like Steve Harvey, but like successful in a different way.
Right, yeah, not egotistical at all. So let's get started. Cedric, who's his roommate, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. His roommate is just playing a video game, sitting on the couch.
Played by legendary comedian Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah, he's exceptional. He's wearing polo. We might as well just keep doing what we normally do. He's wearing a gray polo and jeans, and he's wearing glasses. He's got a nice watch, and Steve Harvey walks in, and instantly just insults him or something like that. He's wearing like a plaid shirt with a vest.
He looks like a funk hero turned high school music teacher.
Yeah, he definitely is embodying the character very well.
Cedric is playing on the Super Nintendo. He's trying to get practice as a video game because Junior's coming over.
Junior is his
little brother
through the Brothers Who Care program.
Yep, it's about keeping like kind of dangerous youths or like people that don't have fathers like from growing up in a like kind of negative environment.
Yeah, and so I think this is set in Chicago, right? So yeah, yes. It's kids in Chicago who don't have father figures.
So a story about Chicago youths.
Yes,
is what we're starting off with.
Sticking with our theme, and Steve Harvey says the line, you know what happens when you start caring about a kid or something like that. First you open your heart to them, and then you open your wallet, and then you open a trust fund, and then everybody's laughing in the background. It's like, Steve Harvey's a cheap old man.
Yeah, he's very skeptical. That's a great way to start off an episode, with him being kind of skeptical, and he'll come around by the end.
Yes. Hopefully. He's still got the Steve Harvey stash, but he also has afro fade.
Yeah.
He's got this mini afro fade, yeah.
Do you like this better than his bald look?
For the character, it works.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I'll say.
I think the bald Steve Harvey is a little more eternal. It's definitely more iconic and like like I can watch a video from Family Feud from 20 years ago and I won't know the difference.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's kind of how some actors that's like the phases of their career, right? Mm-hmm. So he's now in like this wise elder phase.
You always look like you do when you become like your big project kicks off. So then you get like all the treatment, you get locked into that look. That's why Tom Cruise looks the way that he does still.
You get locked in the look, yeah. Okay, so knock on the door after Steve's skepticism, and in come two rabble-rousers spraying him with none other than silly string. I just thought about silly string the other day. I'm like, hey, we need more of that. We got to use that
you
more.
You want to bring it back?
Yeah. Somebody was like, okay, that's the biggest waste of money. You're just getting this pressurized trash that you're just spraying at people. It's like, and then you throw away the can and the silly string. Like, you're just spraying trash at people. For what?
I mean, if you can get like an eco-friendly silly string, then I'm all for it. The youths that have emerged are none other than Kenan and Kel playing these two characters, Junior and Vincent. Junior is like the little brother of Cedric, like in this program, and his buddy is is the biggest Steve Hightower fan that there is. So Kel is that fan.
Vincent, yeah. They run in with their silly string. They give Cedric a bottle, and they're all spraying Steve, and he just doesn't look happy, which is funny because God forbid he smiled. That's just the vibe. That's the vibe I'm getting from him. And I don't understand his character at this point, but it makes sense. So, anyways, let's talk about this theme song, Adam.
I mean, it's the second best theme song that we've had on our show. It's no Coolio.
I love it. I love it. So he's a teacher, right? And he's just like playing the saxophone and just like smiling into the camera and like these weird montage clips. And then he's just writing like things on the whiteboard or the blackboard, but it's really one of those green blackboards. First it's jazz, a couple clips away, shows some people dancing, shows him like licking the saxophone. And then it's like, then hip hop. And then it's just more people dancing and him just smiling and nodding. And then somebody playing basketball, and then rhythm and blues. It's just like panning across the screen.
It might be the best part of the show, let me tell you.
And then he's just like different instruments playing. And then just like musical notes come over to this whiteboard. It says the Steve Harvey Show. And it was super jazzy and fun. However, so 90s. It hurt.
Oh yeah.
I appreciate 90s media. All right, but
yeah.
And it is pretty awesome. It is pretty awesome. But just the forced like he's a funk teacher in school. That's his theme.
It feels almost like the theme song was like commissioned. Like it was made by someone that they got the description. They didn't really know anything about the show.
No, that's I think what happened. Yeah, they're like, okay, Steve, come in for a shoot. Do you have here's the saxophone. Do you know how to play it? You don't really see him playing it. You just see him like
holding it,
like nose up. You know.
Yeah. Vincent's a huge fan of Steve Hightower. He says that the first naked woman that I ever saw was on his album cover. And Kenan Kel, they like sing his favorite number off that album, which is like this, what is it, this funk dance song.
When the funk hits the fan, all the people wanna jam. Boop 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 doop doop, something like that.
I do want to say that Kenan and Kel do a great job of immediately becoming likable.
Oh yeah.
Like it's been like what 2-3 minutes and already like they're doing their thing. Their chemistry is apparent on stage.
Yeah, I really like the when they do that funk dance together in synchrony. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, who are these guys? It almost gave me a pilot episode on the couch vibes. Yeah, that was how good that moment was. Yeah, that was fun.
When they're singing the Cold War, like as they're like cooking up stuff in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's classic Kenan Kel chemistry, and it was filmed right around that time, so you get why that was happening.
Oh yeah. Honestly, the Kenan and Kel, I think needed more of that. But I mean, to make Kenan and Kel happen, you had to have Kenan scheming and Kel's going along and.
Oh yeah. So they can't be in sync all the time, even though they have different chemistry.
Right.
I do want to say that I've watched about 3 episodes of this show now. There's 4 total Steve Harvey Show episodes that have Kenan and Kel in them. This is the least amount of Kenan and Kel and the least well utilized of them. They're in a couple key scenes, and that's about it.
Oh wait, they're in other Steve Harvey episodes?
Yes, this is 1 of 4.
Oh, so I have to watch more of this.
It gets better.
All right. Well, yeah, Kel's just kind of fangirling. He's doing the thing that you shouldn't do when you meet a famous person.
No, sign my autograph book, sign my album cover. Can you sign my report card?
And Steve Harvey, he's walking away, and he goes to Vincent, "Don't do drugs," and to Junior, "Stay in school." That's what he says.
Cedric and Junior are kind of excited because they're going to go see World Federation Wrestling.
Cool thing to do. Pro wrestling match.
Do you have the 2 fighters that they're excited to see?
No.
It's the Rasta Queen versus Trailer Park Shirley.
I do know that Kenan or Junior. I'm just gonna call him Kenan. He's like, I like when what's her name, Rasta
Queen.
Rasta Queen just hits the opponent with their dreadlocks. Like what?
Vincent says to Steve, like, what are we gonna do today? And Steve's like, nuh-uh. We ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, gives him his old man speech.
Yeah, I'm not doing nothing with nobody, never. But eventually, Cedric convinces him. He's like, look, I like this line. He says, look at them over there, all fatherless and needing guidance.
Yeah.
It sounds like a Kenan line.
It does. Steve is sold, and so he kind of hangs out with Vincent while Cedric and Junior go off to the wrestling match.
So then we start the B plot, which isn't great, I gotta say.
It is. It's really bad. Honestly, it's one of the worst B plots. I think it's worse than any B plot in Kenan and Kel. Because the Kenan and Kel B plots didn't even try. It was like Chris talking about like mother's appointment, and it was just like in the background, something happening.
Kenan and Kel very rarely had B plots. I'll be honest. Like most of what you see is just what's happening with Kenan and Kel.
Well, you don't have time in 21 minutes.
You're left with like 3 very tiny stories, each one smaller than the last.
Yeah.
Essentially, and apparently these characters have more to do in other episodes, but there's one of his students, Romeo, is having a party at the club, at the 18 and under club, and he wants to invite his ex, Sophia. He sweet talks her a lot and tells her that he misses her. That's all that plot is.
It's essentially what happens. Yeah, there's no Kenan and Kel here. It's just like 90s TV show. And I will say, like, Romeo's outfit is pretty cool. He's got nice style. The style from the ladies is cool. I just really appreciate seeing 90s fashion.
I like his hair.
You know, like how Drake has the heart? Yeah, he's got like that kind of thing going, except just the line. He's definitely playing Romeo. And just like Steve, Romeo is kind of full of himself. It seems like he has this tone of the world kind of owes me a little bit. Like, I'm cool. I'm the cool guy. I'm handing out invitations to my party. I'm just trying to get Sophia back. And we find out that he broke up with Sophia a week ago. And then he got bored of, or he didn't get whoever else he was chasing after. And so now he's coming back to Sophia. So clearly has some commitment issues, doesn't quite understand relationships, struggling a little bit to win over the girl because he doesn't even know who he wants to win over and why.
I think in a better episode, Steve could be like teaching him, like, how to better treat like people, and how to, and like kind of mentoring him, teaching things that he learns, and then Steve learns something along the way. It's not one of those episodes though. This is an entirely separate thing.
Yeah, no, and that would be nice, but it doesn't seem like Steve has those skills necessarily in this episode. From what I saw, he's just kind of like a grumpy guy, and he's in the next scene we'll see it. He's like hitting it off with the principal a little bit, but nothing much more.
So the principal, Regina, is I want to say she's one of the best characters of the show.
I agree with that,
especially her and Steve's chemistry, because that's what the whole basis of the show is. They're like kind of will they won't they, back and forth.
Right.
So she has received 2 bouquets of flowers today from a secret admirer
named H.
Yes, and she thinks that the H stands for Hightower, and Steve is very insistent that no, it was not him. That when he impresses ladies, they send him flowers.
And then she says something along the lines of, "Oh, well, I just, when a man sends me flowers, I just want to fall over," or something like that.
I melt.
Yeah, there you go.
And he tries to pass it off as him, but she's not falling for it. So good. Someone finally that can like match him in candor and like doesn't like put up with his nonsense.
Yeah. That's what every good man needs. She asks how his weekend was. He starts talking about how he had to hang out with Vincent and that he was just super annoying. And he sang, he sang every one of his songs, even the instrumental one.
Which is a funny bit. To like his credit, like Regina's like kind of like impressed, like oh wow, that's so nice that you're doing a program like that. Yeah, it was a good thing, but I still feel like I'm hearing his annoying voice. And immediately into the office walks in Vincent, followed by Junior. Just ask him all these questions like, hey, where'd you get your suit, Sears?
Yeah, just like, oh, I want that suit. That's a great suit. She's clearly looking up to him, but also just being very annoying.
Kenan and Kel are smitten by Regina, Principal Regina, and Junior has my favorite line of the episode, where he grabs her hand and tries to impress her with some French.
Bonsoir, mademoiselle. Déjà vu.
Voulez-vous? Je ne sais quoi.
He just starts saying random words. That is pretty good.
For what it's worth, Steve has a good point. He's like, look, you have to learn some manners. This is the principal. You have to treat her with some respect. You can't just start wooing her. What do you think I'm trying to do here?
Yeah, right. He's like, hey, you can't just walk in here.
It's my job. So
yeah. And then Romeo comes in and does something that is just not okay. Well, not necessarily, but times have changed. And so Romeo's throwing a party, right? And so he's handing out invitations, which I wish we still did. It's like, hey, here's my party. Come over to my party. You like design it yourself. Microsoft Paint it.
Yeah, you put in some effort. There's a theme too.
Yeah, every party should have a theme. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Alex was asking me that over because my birthday is this upcoming weekend. She's like, "Oh, you gonna have a theme?" I'm like, "No, the theme is drink and eat, and then go home."
You should have a theme, Adam. You should have a theme. How about the great outdoors, American national parks.
In my 2-bedroom apartment.
No, yeah, you just get some decorations and you hang some trees up and leaves, and then it's like fun.
I'll try and do something more than Romeo does at his ultimate party, but we'll get to it in a second.
Yeah, we're not there yet, Adam. Come on, don't spoil anything. Romeo invites Steve Hightower and the principal, which is just so weird. And
that's crazy.
So. I mean, even if you invite the teachers, like you invite the principal to the party, like I guess they're pretty close with the principal.
To an 18 and under club. So why does he want like the teacher around when all the kids are partying? Like it's like he's hiring a chaperone.
I don't know. I can't tell you. Doesn't sound legal today. But no. I mean, because you get invited to like graduation parties and stuff. That's fine. But then, but this isn't that. It's just like a party.
No. Junior and Vincent also want invitations, but he says, "You guys look young. I'll put in a word for you at Chuck E. Cheese."
Yeah, and he goes, "No, Chuck E. Cheese, nah, we're just going to go to the 99-cent store and price check everything," which I thought was a pretty good line. Kenan and Kel are funny this episode. They're funny, but the plot doesn't really revolve around them. It's more so Romeo now just doing this thing, and then there's a little love thing happening between the principal and Steve just building over the course of the season.
This feels like almost the Safe and Sorry of the Steve Harvey Show season 1. Like, I feel like even among the Steve Harvey Show episodes, this isn't great.
Yeah.
Because they do return in, like, later seasons. And the show is way better. They know what's going on.
Yeah, no, it had 6 seasons. But it also had a 6.6 rating overall, so... And this one had this one had an 8.5.
It might be the Kenan and Kel effect.
Yeah. Well, anyways, okay, we got to keep moving along with this show, Adam. I'm getting stuck in the Steve Harvey world, and I don't like it.
So on a different Saturday, Steve Hightower is eating sandwiches and watching football with Cedric. And he's like, "This is what a Saturday's like. You don't spend it with kids or anything like that." He goes to get the door for the pizza, but it's not the pizza. It's Romeo. Do you know why he's mad?
His party got canceled for Scottie Pippen's nephew or something like that.
And Steve says to him, "Whatever you want, the answer is no." Smash cut to a party at Steve's house, where once again, 36, like teens, are partying in their teacher's apartment.
Not okay. Just not okay. And it cuts to Cedric, and Cedric says, I said, when was the last time we had a party? Not, and then you just jumped to this. So it's just kind of funny. They have a little bit of a back and forth going where Cedric's this kind of just jovial, guy who's trying to do good and just like have fun. And Steve's this kind of like driven career musician who's now teaching high schools. It seems like he's always kind of under a lot of stress and under the gun, and then tries to let loose a little bit, and then it's just like, well, what the heck? Now you're chaperoning a party of 40 kids.
Yeah, from what I've seen in other episodes, Cedric starts to get a little more like Kenan from Kenan and Kel. He gets scheming. He has kind of get-rich-quick schemes and stuff like that. And so he's underutilized this episode for sure, but every now and then he gets a funny line. Romeo's nervous that Sophia isn't there yet. She arrives. He tries to play cool and fails. They go off dancing. But the big thing is that Junior and Vincent show up to the party, and they are dressed to party. This is... Let's get. It's time for another classic Kenan and Kel outfit evaluation.
But one second before we get there, there was a brief moment because you talked about like the mentoring between Steve and Romeo. There was a little bit of that, but it was more so just like, be a man. Don't worry. Don't let her see you sweating. Like, don't let her see you don't let her see that you care if she's there or not. Which is just toxic masculinity at its finest.
And what I like about that is that it immediately backfires.
Yeah, very good. Kenan is wearing one of his classic oversized hockey jerseys.
Yeah, it's got like red and yellow bands around it. And he's got an upside-down visor on like the side of his head.
Which is pretty cool. Not gonna lie.
It's pretty cool. It's very 90s hip-hop. And Kel, though, instead of that, on his head he has like a pair of like ski goggles. Like just that no one would ever wear. Not even skiing.
Yeah, they look like they're wearing costumes, you know.
Talks up them being younger than everyone else here.
I don't know, I just didn't really laugh this episode. I laughed at the French line and that was it.
Yeah, I think part of it's that a lot of the dialogue relies on references that we often are like too old for us, or we don't get them. I don't know who Scottie Pippen is. I'll be honest.
Oh, he's on the Bulls.
I think he did basketball.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Bulls at this time, the Chicago Bulls at this time won 5 championships in a row. They went to the finals 6 years in a row. Like, it was a big deal. You should watch The Last Dance on Netflix. It's all about it.
I'll check it out right after I'm done watching the first 2 seasons of Kenan Kel. Junior and Vincent come into the party, and Steve's like giving them rules, like, you know, don't mess with anyone's girlfriend.
Because to Kenan hitting on the girl that Romeo was talking to about Sophia in the beginning, and she's like, you're like 13. And he's like, yeah, but when I'm driving my BMW, that's what the cops say too when they pull me over. And then, oh yeah, I have a BMW because I'm Bill Cosby's nephew.
Yes, they're definitely capitalizing on Kenan's Bill Cosby impersonation from all that. They make a couple references to it like that. I also like that Kenan doesn't say cops, he says the police.
The police.
We pointed out before. Yeah.
The police. Of course.
And she's like, okay, fine, you can dance, but you can't touch me. And he's just very much like, great, no, I can't believe I got this far.
And then this kind of cool, kind of dorky, mostly dorky, he's wearing a sweater at the party, white kid, goes over and there's a woman sitting on the couch, and he says, if that's what you look like from the back side, I wonder what you look like from the front side or something. And it turns around, and it's the principal, and he's just kind of like horrified, which makes sense.
Yes, when you invite the principal to a birthday party, like this can happen.
And she's in like a dress.
Yeah, no, well, she dressed the party. Let me tell you.
I know. Now listen, this is probably a cool place to party because he probably has a great sound system because he was a funk legend. At the same time, what's happening here? I mean, it's just like it's just like a school party. I get it. Probably used to be cool back in the day, you know?
I watched this episode twice, once a couple months ago. On the second watching, I was just watching the kids in the background, and they're just like going back and forth.
Yeah,
so whatever
just moving a little bit. Moving a little bit. And yeah, then there's Romeo dancing with Sophia. And then Kenan Kel are there, and they're trying to distract Romeo so that they can dance with Sophia, and they're just kind of goofing around.
Vincent has to cut in, and then Junior's like actually is cutting in, and Romeo causes big scenes, like, get out of here. Sophia's very much like, oh, they're just having fun. I can't believe I was going to take you back, and leaves, and Romeo's all beside himself. That's the bulk of the scene.
And then all you care about is yourself.
I feel like the audience isn't on his side. There's no awes.
No.
No one's like no one's here for him.
Well, he's like I think that's the thing. He starts off as a jerk, and then Steve Harvey helps him like grow up, kind of be that father figure, maybe.
I agree, but he's still in that kind of jerk stage. Maybe it's a season arc, but he's not good for him. So next scene, we go to school. First of all, it starts off with, I'm telling you, Junior's not Bill Cosby's nephew. Is the banter that starts with.
It's like, oh, he kept talking about pudding.
But anyway, Sophia and Romeo have a relationship talk. And the good point that Sophia says is that, like, you know, Romeo, like, you don't own me. We can have fun. You were too mean to those kids. You're fired.
Yeah,
from being my boyfriend.
You can't fire me. I'm Romeo. I hired you. And it's just like, this is just this man. He's a boy. He doesn't know how to talk to women.
I think the important thing is that Romeo does not get rewarded for the jerk stuff that he did.
Yeah, definitely.
He's basically punished by the story. Now that B plot's done, let's go back to the principal, who has received even more flowers.
Yeah, and Steve Harvey is very taken aback by this, and he's like, "Did you find out who it is yet?" And she's kind of being coy because she doesn't really want to say.
Her secret admirer is. Do you want to share it, Aaron?
Yeah, it's Roland, the janitor, and he's been putting an H. Because he thought it was an R, because he's a little off.
Yeah, he's described as wearing a special shoe. which I find very funny.
Yeah, and then Steve Harvey was like, "Oh yeah, he went to flip me off one time, and he stuck up his pinky, and he was cracking up and like kind of just making fun of her."
Yeah, no, and Steve like has a big laugh. That's at the end of the scene. It starts off with there's one bit here that we didn't mention.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I think we're both having like, all right, let's wrap this episode up.
I don't really like this, Adam. This is not Kenan and Kel.
So Vincent overhears Steve talking at the party about how annoying this kid is that's been following him around and stuff like that. He feels very hurt and he leaves. Steve is trying to do right. He's trying to get advice from Regina, and her advice is keep trying. And Steve says, "Is that what you keep telling these kids? No, half my class is damn near 30." That's her advice to him. And the final scene is in Steve Harvey's apartment. Cedric's playing Super Nintendo with both Junior and Vincent. Cedric is like, "Come on, Junior, I got some pudding pops that we can have. Let these two play alone."
And then Kenan does this Bill Cosby pudding impression or impersonation. And it's like, oh, yay, wow, he can do a Bill Cosby impersonation.
It's something that has both been born and expired.
Not as timeless as you might think.
No. Steve sits down and tries to play Super Nintendo with Vincent, who's very mad and kind of taken out on the game. What's cool is that I thought this was nice. The dialogue that he has is kind of reflective of what the game is. He's like, how about we hit the reset button? I'm not really good at this game, but I'm trying to say sorry and stuff like that. And so I thought that was nice. Meanwhile, my favorite Kel moment of the episode is where he basically makes a bunch of crazy faces as he plays this video game. Mm-hmm. Vincent says, "I looked up to you, I respected you, and then you gave me a tough time." Cedric and Junior go to see a movie. Steve's like, "Hey, instead of that, why don't we all stay here and do something that isn't illegal, immoral, and doesn't cost anything?" Mm-hmm. That's a very hard pitch. So what they end up doing is that they start singing that Christmas song, that funk song, and answers fan questions that Vincent has, like how he does that kick step on the Pericomo Christmas special.
Yeah, and then he, that's the good part of the episode. And so they start doing "When the Funk Hits the Fan," and they start like dancing and just making their own music, which is fun. And then they go, "Junior, make a beat." And then "When the funk hits the fan," he goes, "Gonna smell like chitlets, grits, and ham." Yeah. And then "When the funk hits the fan," Cedric goes, "Pharaoh's gonna give me back my land." And it's like, oh yeah, woo! And it's fun. It's fun.
They have a little song and dance at the end. So that is our first adventure into the Steve Harvey Show,
and maybe our last.
Yeah, we might not. I guess we might not tackle the other ones if we're not up to it. So, whose fault do you think this episode was? Kenan's or Kel's?
Neither.
Steve learns a lesson about doing good stuff, but I wish Steve's lessons were more entertaining.
Yeah, and more genuine.
I think Cedric the Entertainer didn't entertain us enough.
Yeah, I'm worried this episode has an 8.5.
I gotta say, I watched a couple others. It seems like they get better. We don't have to get into the right now. That's the cool thing about our format now. We can just jump around and do whatever we feel like.
That's right.
Well, first, Aaron, what are your final thoughts on this episode, Big Brothers?
I don't understand the TV show enough to comment.
Fair enough. Are you interested in giving it a rating? Or can you, not fathom?
I don't know. It's not fair because I don't know the rest of the show.
Are there worse episodes of Kenan and Kel than this? I think it's where maybe we're interested in thinking.
Yes, there are worse episodes of Kenan and Kel than this. Except nobody in Kenan and Kel is this mean. Sorry, Steve. Yeah. I don't like your character. I just don't like him.
I think that's why he rebranded, honestly. I think he went from this kind of 90s mean guy to being more like just jolly.
Yeah, Jolly Steve's good.
I'm sorry, Steve Harvey. This wasn't... I don't think I disliked this as much as Aaron did. And first of all, I don't think Steve Harvey cares about this program anymore. I think he did 122 episodes. Now he's never thought about it since.
Probably.
No, he's busy doing his own thing, and we respect that. So I think that this is an early episode of an early sitcom, and I'm glad that Kenan and Kel returned to kind of fix things and make them better. I don't think if this was the pilot episode, I would renew this for a whole series.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think the star power has what it takes. Back to the world of Kenan Kel. Let's go to the Fanta Cam.
All right, Fantacam.
We have a new iTunes review, or Apple Podcast review.
This review is titled "Why," and is that's what I have to say about this episode. And it says, "Awesome podcast. Keep up the good work." So we got awesome and good there. A little contradiction. That's by Michael62789. Yeah, awesome and good. So it seems like we're pretty doing pretty okay.
Maybe he's referring to the podcast before we ran out of Kenan Kel episodes was awesome. Now keep up the good work now that we're beyond it.
Yes, perhaps.
Thank you, Michael. Aaron, do you have any thoughts or feelings on where we should go next in the world of extraneous Kenan and Kel? I feel like you don't want to keep doing Steve Harvey. You want to jump around.
I don't know, Adam. I think I would like to generate our own ideas instead of pursuing further shows that I don't understand. If we do a cameo, I think we have to do the whole arc of the character in that cameo. So if it's a 1 episode thing, yeah, that'd be fine. But if there's a 4 episode thing, like you kept referring to these other episodes that I didn't see, and I felt like that we could have just done those all together. So like Kenan and Kel on the Steve Harvey Show.
I see what you're saying, yeah. We'll seek out additional Kenan and Kel content for future stuff. I'd like a reboot episode. Maybe we can do some more creative things like that now that we're in the summer.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us, Fantas, for this adventure. And keep up with what's coming next.
Until next time, here it goes. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. If you want to stay in touch, send us an email at KenanKelPodcast@gmail.com, or you can send us a voice message at anchor.fm/KenanKelPodcast. Our social media accounts are all at Kenan Kel Podcast. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Thanks, everybody.